purpose here. It wasn't just enough for me to tell my story and to kind of, punch through that wall of I'm going to boldly wear my conservatism and not be ashamed to denounce the Democratic Party and liberalism. I know there are millions of other people who are feeling exactly the same way I'm feeling too, that their party has left them, that the Democratic Party has become a party of rage and hate and lies, and the liberal media machine that backs them up, they're sick of it. People are tired of it. So I created something that I called the Walkaway campaign. I encouraged other people to also make their videos and put them out there so that we could create almost this internet community of support. And I dreamed that it would be a big deal, but I didn't really know. I didn't know how people would react. I created a Facebook group and I said, look, use the hashtag walkaway and make your videos and talk about why you're walking away from the Democratic Party. It exploded. And what I also told people too was, going back to sort of my story of how this all happened, for months I was reaching out on social media saying, why did you guys do this? No one would answer me. So I said, listen, it's time for the silent majority to become unsilent. We need people on the right to be making their testimonials too, reclaiming the narrative of what it means to be a conservative. So we have what we call the walkaways, and we have what we call the walk-withs, who are those who walk with those who walk away. Those are the conservatives. And thousands of people started making their testimonials. And at this point, the group has grown to over 400,000 on all social media platforms. We have tens of thousands of testimonials, and it's become a massive movement. It's a very real thing. Hashtag walk away.
Do you think people who are brainwashed or mesmerized by the modern day media, do you think more and more people are capable of that?
Yes, and I'm living proof of that. If we could get into a time machine and go back 2 years ago and this person could meet the former me would think that pod people had taken over and that somebody had stolen my brain. But yes, if I can change, anybody can change, and we are going to change. We have changed. I mean, since I started Walkaway, I get messages by the hundreds, sometimes by the thousands, saying, because of this campaign, my eyes have been opened. We are going to change minds and we are going to change hearts. But we're so much more now than just a social media campaign. One of the things of many that we're going to do going into 2020 and beyond is education. And one of the things I want to do is create a video series, a very excellent quality video series, debunking media lies and myths and teaching people how to be skeptical again when they're watching the news, teach them how to be analytical and see for themselves, as I said before, once you see it, you can't unsee it. Teach them to realize what's being done to them, the brainwashing, so that they see, they're doing it again. They're doing it again. Because, they don't care about news. What they care about is a narrative. And right now, the most important thing to them is pushing the narrative of division through racism, homophobia, Islamophobia, xenophobia, any phobia that you can think of. So they start with a conclusion. The conclusion is, you're a bigot. The conclusion is you're a racist. Then they work backwards and they go out and they seek out anything that they can spin as evidence to support that conclusion. They're not going out looking for stories. They're looking for little sound bites that they can use to support the conclusion that they've already come to. This is what is so disappointing to me about this period that we're living in right now. If liberals and Democrats could just let go of the hatred, I mean, this could be the most fun, enjoyable time, one of the most in our nation's history. I mean, Donald Trump is the president. When are we ever going to get this time back? But they can't enjoy it, and they're making themselves miserable. They're making us miserable. But another reason I think I love him is because once you see it, you can't unsee it. Once you see clearly what they're doing to him and the way that they're maligning him and lying about him and just assassinating his character on a daily basis and going after his family, and going after his children, you realize I have such a deep admiration for this man at this point that he's willing to endure this, because newsflash, he doesn't need to. He doesn't need the money. He doesn't need the fame. He doesn't need the attention. I mean, this guy could be retiring and enjoying this time with his grandchildren and enjoying his wealth and traveling the world. He's doing this because he loves the American people and he cares about this country. And so when I look at somebody who's willing to just get smacked around as much as he does and still keep taking it and doing it for the American people, I have nothing but admiration for the man.
How are you received in the so-called gay community?
They don't, I think, yet understand what it is that I'm doing. And that's kind of the attitude that I try to take, is that despite any treatment that I may be receiving right now, which is obviously not favorable, I think that in time, the gay community and liberals in general are going to have a clear understanding of what it is that I'm trying to do. Because, see, what it is right now is so many are still stuck, I think, again, because of the liberal media, in this mindset that if you're a conservative, you wish to do harm to the gay community, or you wish, if you're a Republican, it's because you hate gay people. Not only have I not found that to be true, I've been warmly embraced by conservatives, and I mean, I'm leading this kind of phenomenal movement, and nobody has come up to me and said, I really love your movement, but you're gay, so I can't get on board. Like, that hasn't happened, and it's not, it's only growing and growing. And so what I really want the gay community to see is that I'm largely trying to empower them. Same with black people, same with brown people, same with all of these other targeted groups in the left, the Democratic Party. I want them to see that the world has changed. And this is, I think another important point. It's not as if oppression is a fallacious concept. I mean, our nation has a dark history, in the way that we have treated black people, the way that we've treated brown people and women and LGBT people. But I want to focus on where we are today. I want to let go of the past and live in the present and look to the future, which at this point, I don't believe that we live in a time where we are oppressing minorities in America anymore. It just isn't happening. And that goes for the gay community as well. I want them to see, hey, guys, let's move on. Let's forgive and move on. Because I think at this point, we should be worrying about empowering ourselves as individuals and not sticking within these groups and seeing ourselves as victims.
But some people are heavily invested in being victims.
It's their identity.
Some groups are invested, front groups.
Mm-hmm.
They get a lot of money to promote victimhood.
That's right.
And the louder they are, the more radical they are, the more outrageous they are, the more they draw media attention and headlines and so forth. It's sort of a very vicious cycle.
Right.
And what you seem to be saying to me is, let's get off the hamster wheel. Let's start to pay attention to what's actually going on, put the brainwashing aside,
right,
and let's embrace our individuality and our liberty, regardless of who you are or what you are, which is a quintessential conservative message.
Absolutely. And what you're describing is what I call the oppression industry. Mm-hmm. It's an industry that exists by constantly making people feel like they're in danger, constantly making them feel like they don't have the same rights or advantages or opportunities as other people in this country. And after they get done delivering that message, and they say, and click here to donate, please. So yeah, what I want is for people to see that, they can embrace their individual identity. And it's not like these things aren't extremely important. They are. I mean, if I look at my own community, the gay community, we have an astronomical HIV rate in this community. We have an astronomically accelerated drug and alcohol abuse rate in this community. Now, these aren't coincidences. These are the results of people constantly being fed the messages that they are not good enough, that they are in danger, that they are not wanted, that they're hated, that they're, And so I want people to see this isn't reality anymore. It doesn't have to be this way. I'm sober. I just celebrated more than 4 years of sobriety. My life has changed tremendously for the better. I wish what I have and what has happened to me for every other person who's ever felt like they weren't good enough or that they were a victim or that set yourself free. I want these people to be liberated, and it can happen. It should happen. But they're constantly getting messages from their media, from their party, the Democratic Party, that we're still living in the past.
Wouldn't the Democrat Party cease to be, that is, cease to exist, but for the balkanization of Americans, but for the victimization of Americans, but for trashing America? And yet I see people by the tens of millions who would pour into this country if we allowed them to pour into this country. Gay people, straight people, black people, brown people, white people, all people. We're such an oppressive, horrific country that we can't keep people out. You didn't go to college.
No.
Is that a good thing or a bad thing?
Well, now I think it's a good thing.
Why is that?
Because I never got indoctrinated. I mean, I actually think that that's probably part of the reason I was able to get out alive the way that I was, and hopefully encourage a lot of other people to get out as well. I hear all the time now that these colleges and universities are just becoming more and more indoctrination camps, I think, than institutions of learning. And I have to believe that that's true because I have seen with my own eyes the way that this sort of liberal, excuse me for saying, but cancer has overtaken the minds of young people. I mean, they can't even carry on a conversation
Have you
anymore.
spoken in any college campuses
Oh,
yet?
I will be.
It appears that when conservatives simply try to speak at universities and colleges all over the country, it creates a violent response. Which goes to the issue of academic freedom and free speech. There doesn't really seem to be academic freedom and free speech on a lot of our campuses in this country. Your walk-away movement, are you going to focus somewhat on colleges and universities?
Absolutely. Yeah, I mean, we have to kind of go into the belly of the beast in many respects. So yes, young people are absolutely a demographic that we must speak to, and we will get into colleges and high schools. But